You know what might actually be harder on my plan than the leafy greens or anything else on there? Making the videos! So, halfway through day 2 and I realize I'm wearing the same dress as yesterday. But trust me, it is day 2. I'm recording this early so that I could catch some good light because I'm going to the Magic Makers healing festival thing. Which is how I actually heard about like botanicals whose products I'm using for the 100 days. So Magic Makers is this event. I think it happens every year in Oakland where kind of crafty and witchy and holistic-y type people get together and sell their wares. And I'm volunteering today on behalf of the Bay Area Girls Rock and Roll Camp. I did the Women's Rock Camp last year and it was so much fun. It made my dream of being a rock star come true, so I'm pretty stoked. I mentioned in my last video talking about the historical trauma I have regarding to skincare. And basically, I grew up in Malaysia, where a lot of people look sort of like me. Malaysia consists of a lot of different Asian races, and my family is from Bangladesh, which is also in Asia. But I was still a minority growing up because I was the only Bangladeshi in school and in my general area, and I got a lot of shit for that. The racism was super intense. In some ways affects me to this day because it influenced a lot of how I view the world and influenced my interest in anti-racism and all of that. Something else that also got attached to it was my skin color. By Malaysian standards, I have dark skin. A big slur for dark-skinned people, especially dark-skinned South Asians, and one I would hear occasionally is keling, which is a word that means blacky. It's kind of a very horrible slur. Sometimes some people would call me this backhanded compliment of hitam manis, which literally means sweet black. Kind of has a connotation that, oh, for a dark-skinned person, you look really cute. You know, it didn't help that when I was a teenager, acne happened. There was this huge pressure to do something about it. Like my dad. My dad has more skincare products than I do, and he still does. Fairly recently, he asked me to get him some henna. I was like, what do you need henna for? You don't even have hair on your head. So I got him this cube of henna from Lush, and he wanted to dye his mustache. That's how vain he is. And he loved it so much, he wanted to look into opening a Lush in Malaysia. And I actually asked Lush about it on his behalf, and they said they weren't interested in opening a store in Malaysia. You're missing out, Lush. You would get so much business, whether or not my dad is involved in any way. You know, my dad was always like, oh, you should take this medication, and you should put on Oxy, and you should do this and that. And it was just so much pressure, and I couldn't stick to it long enough. And it just felt really gross a lot of the time. And I was also growing into my feminism. I think possibly it was partially in response to that, and also partially in response to being in an all-girls school, but it wasn't one of those schools where you grew up to be feminist. Like, it wasn't a very progressive school. It was very conservative in a lot of ways. It was all, oh, you have to perform femininity this way, and I was like, fuck that. And I decided that I didn't want to be defined by my appearance, or in fact defined by my body at all. And I was pretty happy being a brain in a jar, and I spent a lot of my time online where you didn't have to see my face if you didn't want to, and it was great. Like, I made so many more friends online than I ever did IRL. And then a few years ago, I got into burlesque, which is so much fun. But for all the body positivity the burlesque scene likes to proclaim itself to be, it was still very discriminatory in particular ways. I got so many comments about how I was too dark, too hairy, too knock-kneed was one comment, which I'm still puzzling about, too ugly to do burlesque. I've always had this thing against skincare out of this frustration that people won't take me seriously for what I do. They more refer to how I look, which is annoying. Now, 29 years in, having some questions about how I look, grappling with some kind of uncomfortable feelings about it. But then, you know, there's a side of, oh, should I actually care about my appearance? And maybe that will get me somewhere, especially in the things I want to do. But then also, if there's a way to do that without compromising on my feminist politics, and even though I'm all for people doing whatever they want with their bodies, I'm not happy with femphobia and how things like fashion and makeup tend to be demonized even by feminists, even though I used to be one of those kind of feminists myself. Then I got better. I still couldn't try to make the leap treat for myself. I decided to do this project for 100 days because 100 days is a good container, and it would be not just me trying on stuff, but it would also be me reflecting on how it went. So that's where I'm coming from with this, and hopefully I can keep up the stamina. If you want to follow my progress, follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Patreon, YouTube. Obviously, give it 100. Support me on Patreon to help defray the cost of these things. Links are in the, as they call it, the doobly-doo, which is here. Or if you're on mobile, I think there's somewhere on the side, and I just realized when I made my video yesterday that everything is reversed. So it'll be on this side if you're watching this on like a tablet. Say hi to me, spread this around. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.